Welcome to our official part of the topic-related session today. It's quite a serious topic because Michael, Miethke here and we decided to share the topic of the birth of simultaneous interpreting at the Nuremberg Trials, hosted by two Germans here. And we want to take the opportunity to also share our experience of how we grew up in Germany. We have two different generations. Michael is slightly more experienced than I am, and we are happy to share everything you want to know. So you can ask any question you never dared to ask a German. This is what we are here for. And Michael, would you like to start with a few comments or notes? Or shall we
Yes.
ask Yasmin first, actually, and
Oh,
welcome
yeah.
her? Hello,
Hello,
Yasmin.
hello,
If you
Janine.
are here and you want to come on camera, you are welcome to. This is a space where you can speak freely, ask any question you like. And our structure, we thought, would be that we will give you an overview of the background of the Nuremberg trials. Then we will, of course, open also the discussion for question and answers and share our individual personal experience from our fathers and grandfathers' generation, how we grew up, or we grew up in school with the history, how we learned about it, how, from our perspective, Germany deals with the history.
Hey
Hello.
everyone.
Hi,
Hi.
Yasmin.
Hello,
I'm
Jasmine.
joining for the first time and I'm using my phone, so I won't be able to turn on my camera, unfortunately.
Great that
But
you're here. All good, all good. Where
oh,
are you
thank
joining
you.
from?
Germany, actually.
Okay.
Wow, okay, wonderful. And then we have our friend from Cambodia again, right? He's just connecting his audio, obviously. Saden, I think. So yeah, and then we want to finish with the big topic of also how to deal with it, how to move on, reconciliation, possibly forgiveness, and how to create peace. Nothing major, So, but all right. Hello, Sadin from Cambodia, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we have another iPhone. Sorry, if it is the case, yeah, but I think it is. I think I recognize you. Anyways, Michael, shall I start with a little bit background information, or would you like to
No,
join
you can
in?
start, and maybe I will show some pictures in the background.
Perfect.
If
Yes.
this is the right picture for the things you're telling.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so let me start with some background information about the Nuremberg trials, just to fill you in. So, after World War II, the Nuremberg trials were held to bring the Nazis' war criminals to justice. These trials were conducted by the Allied powers. This means the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and France. And given the multinational nature of the tribunal, a new method of communication was necessary to bridge language barriers efficiently. And you can see in the picture that Michael is just showing you in the background. Shall I actually make us spotlight speakers, maybe so that people can see us better and your picture? Because, as you can see, those are the first simultaneous interpreters here. And you can see they sit kind of freely, yeah, just behind a glass wall. But in the middle of the room, with all the other noise, but they're wearing headphones and using microphones. And the main challenge was the diversity of languages spoken by the participants. The judges, prosecutors, defendants, and witnesses that spoke all different languages. And those languages were, amongst others, English, German, French, Russian. Consecutive interpreting was the prevalent method at the time, but it would have been too time-consuming for the lengthy and complex proceedings. You can also bear in mind that it's also like the first kind of, how to say this scale of trials had never existed before, right? Like this kind of international war court, you can say, right? To bring war criminals to justice in this way at such a large scale. It was unprecedented. So yeah, so they wanted to find a new method that is different to consecutive interpreting. And simultaneous interpreting was introduced as a solution to this problem. And this method, as we all know, involves interpreters translating the spoken word in real time, allowing participants to hear the translation almost simultaneously as the speaker talks. So, and what equipment did they use? So the equipment they used was developed in a way that suited the needs, the time for simultaneous interpreting. So they thought of microphones, as you can see in the picture, microphones for the speakers, headsets for the listeners. And I actually now found the information that there was a set of booths where interpreters could work. But the booths, as you can see in the picture, were glass cabinets, but they were not soundproof, sound protected. It was just open in the same room as everything else. And as you can see also, there are multiple interpreters. So those were all the different languages also spoken. So they didn't only hear the native language, but also the interpreter next to them, right? So I can only imagine the difficult working conditions. And so the procedure. Each participant would wear a headset connected to multiple channels, each corresponding to a different language. The interpreters were seated in a booth, and they would listen to the proceedings and translate them in real time to various target languages. How about the efficiency? Well, simultaneous interpreting dramatically increased the efficiency of the trial. We said now it could take place in real time rather than if it had been consecutive interpreting. So it allowed them to proceed without any lengthy pauses, that consecutive would have made necessary. And it became a success. So it really proved at those trials that simultaneous interpreting was a success, and this led to the adoption in other international forums, including the United Nations and the European Union. So this was the birth of simultaneous interpreting. They sort of tested it there. It was a necessity, right? And they saw that it worked. So afterwards, they adopted it in other settings as well. And then it became professionalized, because all of these trials highlighted the need for skilled interpreters. And this led then to the development of training programs and professional standards in the field. So the university course of interpreting didn't exist yet, right? So with that, all of this started to develop. And with that, also the technical innovation. So the use of new technology for interpreting set also a precedent for the integration of technological advancements in the field. It paved the way for the modern interpreting industry. So in a nutshell, in a conclusion, the Nuremberg Trials were a landmark event not only in international law, but also in the history of interpreting. The introduction of simultaneous interpreting transformed how multilingual communication was handled in legal and diplomatic contexts, establishing a practice that continues to be crucial in our globalized world. Yeah, and as we know, nowadays it's also in the free market economy, we cannot imagine a world without interpreting anymore. So this was a short introduction to the Nuremberg trials, some background information. Is there anything at the moment you guys want to ask, comment on? Maybe comment on the pictures. What do you think the conditions were like? Michael, if you want to share anything, of course, you're always free to just speak.
Yes, I can add some information about the history and some famous interpreters. Maybe it's nice maybe to have the comments of our audience. Clovis, hello, welcome.
Yes, hello, Clovis and Dominique.
And Dominique, also
Hello,
welcome.
Mike. Hello, Sarah.
I was really just wondering actually
Yes,
about
hello.
how. Sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Okay.
Michael, you wanted
I'm
to say something?
participating from Guinea-Bissau.
Okay, Guinea-Bissau. Hello. We have one participant who wants to give a comment. It's Michael Starnberger.
Oh, I was
in
just wondering
Ireland,
really.
and he's
Sorry.
German too. Or,
Yeah.
Austrian. Sorry, Austrian.
Austrian.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I was just actually wondering how they did that with all of that noise surrounding them without the sound soundproof booths. That must have been quite difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, they coped. What I read, as advice, I informed myself on Wikipedia, but I use different languages: French, German, Dutch, English, and Spanish, and then you get different information, sometimes the same and some extra information. And what I read was that they took people who were experienced consecutive interpreters. They took people who worked abroad in international organizations who weren't interpreters. And yeah, it was a bunch of professionals, semi-professionals, and I think they started doing this and they learned by doing. And what everyone was realizing is that when they would have done this only in consecutive, you have a lot of breaks in between. You have to wait. The speaker says something, then the interpreter has to interpret this. It would have taken a very, very long time. And that's the reason why they started to do the simultaneous. But the simultaneous interpreting, it starts earlier. So maybe if you are interested, I can tell you a little bit about this stuff.
Yeah, please.
What I found was the
Or
first.
maybe just Michael, just
yeah.
actually, I also wanted to say something to the question from
Mhm.
Michael Starnberger. I also think it's my personal opinion, however, that we need to assume that they must have lost a few words and phrases, right? Because I can also imagine it must be so difficult to listen to the noise, to other interpreters, to then the noise of the room, also people moving, right? We know those sounds. So I can only imagine that, yeah, they used coping techniques, and when they lost a sentence or a word, they continued, right? Must have been
Yes.
like this.
I think that also the users, the advocates, and so for the attorneys, the judges, weren't so they accepted this. They knew that this was a new technique, so I think it wasn't that like we have today. Everyone thinks the interpreter is like a linguist god who can do everything, even if the
Exactly.
conditions are very
Yes.
bad.
Yeah.
But I think in this time, they had more. Yeah, the opinion was milder. Let's say it's
Yeah. And there were
the
no
judge
kind of rules yet, right? We
also.
don't know
Yes.
whether maybe
Mm.
the one or the other
Yeah.
interpreter kind of shouted out, "Stop,
Yeah.
repeat," you know.
That's true.
Maybe it
Yeah.
happened, you know, and
Could
then
be.
they accepted it
We
because
have to see
exactly
the we have to
it
see
was new to
the
everybody.
we
Yeah.
have to see the
Mhm.
documentation. We have there were films, the trials, so maybe you will
Yeah.
find how it works. So, but a little bit background information. The first conference interpreting started in 1918, and the first time they used simultaneous interpreting was during the Comintern. Comintern is Communist International, and the International Labor Organization, and this was in the end of 1920. That's the first time they used the simultaneous interpreting.
Mm.
An employee from IBM was very important for us for the development of the technique. It's Alan Gordon Finlay. I have a photo of him while he's trying a little bit an apparatus or
Oh,
a
yes.
microphone. Let's see, that's him, and
Can
he
you move a bit to
used.
the side? We
Oh,
cannot see him.
yes, that's a problem. I have to get. You
Ah,
see,
yes.
it was called the. Let me look it up. A hush a phone. This was one
Okay.
first experiment, and they patented it. And he was very important for the technological development. And IBM was also the company who um, developed the microphone headsets and so on, and console the mixing machine for the sound for the Nuremberg Trials. Then yeah, there was also another one. Yeah, that was I think the most important thing to say.
So guys, remember IBM was the company that developed the technical equipment. Who would
Yes.
have known this? And so strange that nowadays we don't rent out booths, do they?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't
It's
think
more
so.
like
No.
we have two other companies. Philips was it sometimes, and yeah, others too. But now we have also the digital consoles, the platforms where we can use the same technology, but online, and we can work from home or from a hub. A hub is a place
Yes.
where
Yeah.
where the interpreters are, and maybe the speakers and the slides are shown, but the participants can be wherever they are in the world, and they are online, and the
Yeah, this is also a
interpreters
fairly
are.
new development, isn't it?
It's called a hub.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe this for the technique, and then I have a little bit information about some famous interpreters. But maybe we have some questions in the
Yes, if
meantime.
you have any questions, we also have
Sorry, I
some
wanted
people
to.
watching on Facebook. If you have any question watching, comment on
I
it. I
wanted
keep
to
an eye
see
on
one
it and
fun
will
photo
share
where
with Michael.
Nuremberg lies. You see
Ah, yes.
Germany, and the red dot that is in Bavaria, that's Nuremberg. So in the southeast of Germany. Sorry, the photo is now mirrored, so you have to turn Germany a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also good to have the context. So this is where Nuremberg is. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's right. No, it's the right thing. No, that's the right picture of Germany. It's not mirrored. Sorry, I lost my geography. So, what am I
Yeah.
wrong? No, it's mirrored. No. Okay.
For me, I
never
see
mind.
it right. Bavaria is on the southeast. It's all good. Yeah.
I'm not so sure. No, you see it. You see it's mirrored because you see the text is mirrored. So you have to turn it around. Excuse me, it's my fault. Or maybe when I say I don't want to be
Although
mirrored,
when I look at it and
that's
I'm like a viewer, I
that's the
see it.
right
I see
picture of
Germany the
Germany.
way it
Yeah.
is, like
Okay, good. That's
Bavaria
the only thing I wanted
southeast.
to say. So,
Yeah.
but maybe we have someone who wants to ask a
Yeah. Are there any
question.
questions? Anything? Maybe we are interested in why was Nuremberg selected as a place for such a large scale of trials and of such importance, right? Of such relevance for the entire world, basically. Does anybody know or can think of it? No. Shall I give it away? Okay, so apparently the reason was because its Palace of Justice was relatively undamaged by the war, of course, and included a large prison area. So, practical reasons. The Palace of Justice was there, hardly damaged, and they had a large
maybe
prison area.
also Nuremberg was a place where Hitler was organizing very large party congresses with a lot of people. We see this in the historical films. So Nuremberg was also, let's say, a little bit the center of the propaganda of the Nazis. Very, very important for them. So this was also, let's say, they were defeated. So the winners of the war, they decided to choose this place. It could have also been Berlin and so on.
Yes.
Sometimes it's also a symbolic reason, but we have two reasons.
Yeah.
There's a practical and a symbolic reason for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, any questions so far, guys? Any comments? Anything that stood out to you that you didn't know before?
Clovis wants to say
please.
something.
Yes.
Hello. Thank you once more. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clearly.
Okay. I think, Michael, the first question I had was already answered because I really wanted to understand how interpreters were selected for this convey. So I think you gave us an answer for that. And I also wanted to understand what was the outcome of the interpretation that was done in Nuremberg? What about the feedback, given that most of them were not like trained as interpreters will be trained today? at the end of the conference, what was the appraisal of the interpreter's job in the Nuremberg conference? I don't know if you can tell us anything about that.
I really don't know what happened afterwards. With a lot of documentation films. Maybe they can answer your question, but I don't know what happens with the interpreters. The only thing is, the people realized before Nuremberg Congress, it was in 1946. In 1945, the United Nations in Geneva, in Switzerland, they used also for the first time simultaneous interpreting for their conferences. So it's something which went together. The international organization, United Nations, European Union later on, they realized we need this form of interpreting to work efficiently, and therefore we need skilled people. Therefore we have to start with study. We have to offer something, and that's why we say it's the birthplace Nuremberg Trials, but it's not really the birthplace, but it's the most important, let's say, that everyone realize, okay, for international cooperation, we need a form of communication which is quick, which is correct, and so
maybe
on.
the birth of the professionalization.
Yes,
Like
I would say
afterwards,
that,
it was
yes.
like professionalized. Yeah, but I did ask ChatGPT your question, Clovis. Shall we see what ChatGPT
Okay.
said? So I asked, was there feedback? Was there feedback given to interpreters at the Nuremberg trials? And ChatGPT answers, yes, there was feedback given to interpreters at the Nuremberg trials. And then a little introduction again to what they were about. But yeah, it says about quality and accuracy. The accuracy of interpretation was of utmost importance. Feedback was given to interpreters to ensure that they accurately conveyed the testimonies and legal arguments. Misinterpretation could lead to misunderstandings and potentially impact the trial's outcome. And apparently, interpreters underwent rigorous training before the trial began. This included familiarizing themselves with the legal terminology, the specific languages. Ongoing feedback during the trials helped the interpreters refine their skills and improve their performance. And given that that simultaneous interpreting was relatively new, a new technique at the time, there were also technical challenges and procedural issues, of course, that needed to be addressed. And again, here, feedback from judges, lawyers, and other court officials helped identify and resolve these issues. And this improved the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the interpretation process.
We would like to have this in our daily work, a very intense communication between our clients and us linguists. But yeah, now we have
But
to
can you imagine
prepare.
in the middle of it? So it kind of
learning
there
by
must have been
doing.
interruptions. No, yeah, it's like all like stop here, let's solve this, and no, can you repeat this? It must have been similar to kind of that. No, like really kind of
very intense,
stressful.
I think.
Yeah, it also talks about stress and working conditions here in ChatGPT. Interpreters worked under high pressure conditions and often had to deal with, of course, emotionally charged and complex material.
Absolutely, yes.
Feedback from colleagues and supervisors was essential in helping them manage stress and maintain high performance levels. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's what we try to do now here in Europe, maybe, and maybe in the States, to have this feedback from colleagues to cope with all these awful information we can have as interpreters when you are interpreting in a war situation, or let's say criminal environment where you have to listen to the judge, to the attorneys, and so on. So we are starting to do this now in the Netherlands, but I heard also in England we had here a guest 3.
Yeah, you
2.
refer to the topic of
Yes.
supervision, right?
Supervision, that's the right word.
To help process the emotionally
Yeah.
charged content that interpreters may interpret, and they kind of absorb it as well. They are like an extra right in that moment, and absorb kind of
The
those
question
emotions.
myself, we have a guest from Cambodia, and Cambodia had an awful history under a dictator. And I think you are also younger. You are after this time, I think. How did it go in your family? Could you talk about it? Because in my generation in Germany, I was born in Germany. I'm half Dutch, half German. My mother's Dutch, my father's German. Very special situation, like Romeo and Juliet. And the problem was I could talk with my father about everything, but not about the war. And this is not my own experience. It's the experience of nearly everyone of our generation born after the Second World War. When I asked my father quite naively, did you kill people during the war? He became angry and he stopped talking. It was not possible to talk to him. And I tried to say, it's not to judge you. It's because I want to know what do I have to do if I would come into this kind of situation. How can I avoid that the situation develops? What can I do before that in a democracy, defending the democracy? But also, how can I cope myself with it, so that I don't have to kill someone? Or how do you cope when you had to do it and you didn't want to, because most is it's anonymous, because you're shooting somewhere and a bullet will kill someone, so, and you don't even see the one you killed. So this was my experience, but it was for my whole generation. We had the problem, we couldn't talk with our parents, mostly our dads, about this. So maybe Cambodia, I don't know if you had the same experience. Can you unmute yourself, because you're.
Thank you, Michael. It was a good transition. Now we can move over, maybe, if you like, to sharing personal experiences, because there are many like angles we can discuss this topic from, of course. So yeah, let's see where this leads. So yeah, Sadin, if you want to unmute from Cambodia, please. I think you were trying to, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
what do you want me to talk? To share some experience of what?
Yes. Did you have the experience with your parents, because they had to go through a very awful period in their life with a lot of debt?
Yeah, I did, but my parents, they passed away more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
So during the Khmer Rouge period, the genocide period, we all went to the west, to the camp, Thailand camp, and we stayed there.
Okay.
We got involved with we were struggling by escaping from one province to another province, and then to the border, and then along the border we had a very hard time, killing and no food, disease.
Yes, I know.
And then but the old people in Cambodia, mostly they didn't want to speak about this, because they didn't know who commit this crime.
Yeah, that's true.
And we always heard from the social media instead. So finally we had the international court, and still they didn't know who committed the crime, who is the first person who committed this crime.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah,
and one blame another one,
Yeah.
So no real leader. We have a Khmer Rouge called Pol Pot, but Pol Pot died, and he even could not go to the court. He
Yeah.
died at the border of Cambodia, Thai, and he didn't say anything about why he did the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same feeling afterwards when I realized what happened when I grew up. I went also to a place near München, Dachau, that was a concentration camp where a lot of people were killed and gassed. And when I went into this museum, the only feeling I had was angry, but I had no one to aim this anger to. So it felt like, how can people do this? Be so cruel to other people? And yeah, the only thing I can say now is I have to do my part to do something that this doesn't happen. But I see it happens all the time. The Rohingya now in Myanmar. We see the people in Afghanistan who suffer. We see in Gaza Stroke and the West Bank, people are suffering, and there are political forces behind who don't want to solve the problem because they have ideological, religious, or other reasons to let this go and support some side. So, and the same is in Ukraine. It's unbelievable that we still in the 21st century have to see this happening. And the only thing I can do is vote for democratic parties, help, let's say, like Translators Without Borders, to help non-profit organizations, and also speak like this platform, this forum.
Yeah, and do what we can do in our everyday life, really, with people we interact with on a daily basis. Sometimes we think, oh, it's not important, or we diminish it, but yeah, that's it, right? Be nice to your neighbors, or talk straight to your neighbors, so in a constructive way. But it is like how we deal with people that we actually are in contact with. In the small circle, we might have some control with, right? So. Yeah.
But I also
So yeah,
have this.
thank you so much for sharing as well from Cambodia, Seyden.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
But I also have the same feeling, which now maybe a lot of Ukrainian young men will have. Will I defend my country, or will I save my own life? So for myself, this is a struggle I have. Let's say the Russian idiot called putain putain in French is starting a war with Western Europe. Maybe I will go to South America and try to survive and not have the same experience my parents had in the Second World War. Or I will say, okay, I do my best to defend.
Yeah, this is actually
Europe.
quite
I don't know.
interesting question that you are raising, because I think this question we can only or one can only answer if one gets into such a situation, right? Because we simply just don't know how we ourselves would react. We can imagine now, oh, I would do this, I would do that, but when it actually happens, it can be totally different, right? So this is something. This is yeah, also something with a German history that Michael also raised with the silence. I can share this experience as well. For me, it was my grandparents' generation. My granddad also was in the war, fighting in the war, of course, on the German side, and yeah, and there was this large-scale silence. If you try to, also me as a small grandchild, young kid, also, and when it started to be taught in school, maybe asking naive questions like Michael said, so how was it, granddad, and why did. But it's a very difficult silence, and yeah, and it's also like a phenomenon that is maybe from a bird's eye view or from a scientific kind of view interesting, because I mean, I'm sure like this generation didn't decide all together, let's all stay silent. It's just everybody individually kind of didn't talk about it, right? Kind of. Or at the Nuremberg Trials, maybe you have heard that the common answer or defense was, I've only followed orders.
Yeah.
So this is like, again, like a totally different angle we could guide this discussion to, like, is following orders, is it, can they still be punished, or should they still like use their own morale brain and to make their own decisions if the order is wrong, um yeah, other than that, there was always this great silence. And yeah, this is a big aspect of it, I think.
I wanted to know, Clovis, you are living in West Africa, I remember. Were you confronted, because in Africa also a lot of conflicts, but it's a very large continent. Europeans don't imagine how large Africa is. Did you experience also something, or during your work as interpreter, did you encounter people who, for whom you had to interpret, who had war experience?
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I think just like you want to know, Africa is not it's not at the backside of what is happening in the world in terms
No.
of war and all other calamities that you want to imagine. I mean, Cameroon, precisely Central Africa. Yes, and sometimes I will say I don't usually want to say such things online, and yeah, because uh, we all know how things sometimes get in our continent or in our world. But during my training from the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters in the southern part of the country, I don't know if you must have heard that we've had some serious issues for, I think, 5, 6, 7 years now, and still ongoing. I think so. With this part of the country that wanted to like separate from the other side, because my country is a bilingual country. We are like 20% of the south and northwest are English speaking. Then the other part of the country is French speaking. And so I'll say, unfortunately for me, the school I was supposed to attend to be trained as an interpreter was found in one of the English speaking zone.
And you're French speaking.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
well, I'll say my mother is from the English speaking part of the country, and my father is from the French speaking part of the
Welcome
country.
to my world. Dutch mother,
So
German father. So no, I understand you
yeah,
fully what happens
yes.
in your family.
So it becomes a little bit complicated because mom is from the other side, dad is from the other side. Both of them are not living, but I think I really feel it because I've got brothers in the English speaking part of the country. I've got other siblings in the French speaking part of the country. So sometimes it becomes difficult to meet them. You can only have them on phone. And my training itself was cut short because I didn't leave that place with. I spent the normal 2 years, but I couldn't graduate with a certificate because I had to run helter-skelter for my life, I should say so.
Oh, you really
Yeah.
experienced life-threatening situation yourself?
Myself, I should say yes, because it was a kind of conflict between the government forces and the separatists. I think that's the name they called, the separatists, who wanted to have the English part of the country autonomous, and it wasn't really an easy one. Yeah, until today, the problem is not really solved, and
do you have to defend yourself being a bilingual citizen of your country, of Cameroon, and do you have to defend yourself? Because what I heard sometimes, I never experienced myself, but other Germans who went to the Netherlands, they got this: "You are bad because you are a German," and maybe because I speak very fluently Dutch, I have large Dutch family and so on. We went to the Netherlands quite often, and they came to us. And what I realized is the generation who suffered of the German occupation, they very quickly were thinking, we are not an island. We can't say the Netherlands will go to the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. No, they are fixed to Germany. So they really quickly started to forgive and to start doing business again with Germany and so on. So I never experienced this, but for me the argument was, if someone would say to me, "You are bad because you're German," I could say, "Okay, I'm also half Dutch." Or if someone is more extreme, I could say, "Sorry, my parents were Jews." They aren't. But to give the argument, I am a victim also when I have the German nationality. Or my parents could be communists. My father was killed in a concentration camp. A story like this, to invent this, but to give the other side the impression it's not the nationality, but you have a person, and this person has an individual story and could have been victim. So don't judge me because I'm from Cameroon or from Cambodia or from Germany. Look to which person you have as the first step to start get the communication, to understand each other and come together and not fighting old fights from the history. So but
Exactly,
nevertheless,
because it is, yeah,
Hmm?
because it is the younger generation also that often, and which is also happened or is happening in Germany, like processing the past and trying to do it better and reconciliation, improving things and moving forward in a better way, kind of. And what you said exactly, when people just define you by your nationality, it's not well advised to do so anyways, right? Like rather do like you said, like see everybody as an individual, because then we also like, get quickly into racism and all of this. It's like, no, I'm my own person. I'm not my grandfather, and my grandfathers are, and even in the individual situation, you have to actually view, right? Because there was this great conflict in Germany between the generation that went to war, or some of them had to go because it's at a certain point in history, then I guess there was also fear predominant, and people didn't speak up because they were afraid to get killed. So they did. The army said to each man, "You have to go." So they simply went, right? Not asking what they were actually thinking.
We have a
And
situation at the moment in Russia. I
yeah,
think a lot of Russian are afraid, but they can't speak up. That's a problem with a dictatorship.
yeah,
Now, Mike, you see, I should say, for no reason whatsoever, I want my country to be separated. I think for all the time I've grown in my country, we have always been a great people, be it English speaking, French speaking. I think it's a perfect blend. I think Cameroon and only Canada share French and English as official
I didn't know
languages.
that. Okay.
Yes. So it's a pride that we want to see grow in our country.
Yes,
And
be proud of your language skills.
Yes, come on.
That's absolutely good.
Yes. And you see, most of the time, I have been a victim of this because when I go to the English part of the country, and sometimes when they hear you speaking French, they say, les francophones, the francophone. And when you come to the French-speaking part of the country, when you speak English, they say, les anglophones. And you see, I just want to be grateful to God, to nature, that I could navigate in both languages. Because when I go towards the English speaking, I just wear the coat of an English speaker and I speak English with them. And when I am at the French side, I wear the other mask of French speaker and I speak French. But it's always been like that. Most of the time, you have people. I think it's more political than I don't know any other reason. It's more political. But
yeah, that's true.
I'm really proud of my country, proud of the diversities
Yeah,
of
the nature of the
culture,
country must be
yes,
fantastic.
and yes,
Yeah,
and no matter the political aspect of
Mm.
it, which I don't know, but I think my country stands tall and should remain one.
yeah, that's good. And we should be very proud of our profession, because, like I was saying, my mother and my father were from different nationalities, like your father and mother were from different language groups. We are the Romeo and Juliets. We connect. We as interpreters, doesn't mind if you're consecutive or sign language or simultaneous or other kind of interpreters. So I think we have to show this to the world, and that's why the European project is so important, with now more than 20, correct me if I'm wrong, 26, 27 countries with a lot of languages. And we as interpreters, we help them, and also the translators, we help that these people who in history had a lot of war now are living in peace, and we hope this will stay on and not be destroyed by a Russian aggressor. So
Yeah,
be very
absolutely.
proud of your profession. It's
Yeah,
absolutely,
that's
yeah,
absolutely
very
right.
important.
Yeah, another great topic. And because fundamentally the European project, like you mentioned it, it's like a peace project. It is
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
a peace project, period. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is really important. And again, like this is also the mindset aspect here. It is what you focus on, and what you focus on, or where your focus goes, attention flows, or there's a saying like this. And it's true. So do you focus on the conflict, on the bad things, like Michael said, like when you see a German, are you like, you are German, you are bad,
Mm.
or do you focus on peace and seeing them as an individual, and this, separating them from the other people basically that did it, and now
Yeah,
we
be
grow up
curious about the
completely
person
different.
you
Yeah,
you are encountering, and okay, I can still say you're not my type, or your personality is bad, you have a bad character, but it's only this person. It's not a whole group of people. That's what I always want to see. Be curious about the
absolutely. Yeah,
person, and that's what we do here also. So it's so nice to
yeah.
have new people here. So
And maybe also
uh,
to draw back the line to the German history and Nuremberg Trials, and what Clovis said about pride and national pride. This is actually also a curiosity of Germany, you can say. So since World War II, one can say that the Germans don't grow up with any sense of national pride.
yeah.
There is more like a collective uh, just collective feeling of guilt, like to exaggerate maybe. But there was a great conflict between the generation that went to war and the first generation afterwards, the children's generation, like this question of guilt, like how could my parents have done this
Mm,
terrible thing, and then blaming them, reproaching what they have done, so being reproachful. So this big thing, guilt, was in the room, right? So however, it's also like from a psychological, scientific, and so on point of view of processing it, coping with it, dealing with it, forgiving, or let's call it processing. It's also about, hey, you know, inform yourself, learn about the history, get all of the facts, information, and then also thank you, by the way, Clovis, for sharing. And then also, you know, how to say, like, who throw a stone if you are free of any sins, right? Because this is another thing. Actually, we don't know, and you don't know, nobody knows how one would react if you were in such a situation, if you were a
yeah.
follower, believing what was said, what the government said. I mean, look at Brexit, how many people believe the government there, and it was all a lot of it was lies. So but you cannot blame people that believe lies in this moment, because afterwards, it's always easier to blame and say, oh,
Absolutely.
this was wrong, you should have done this. No, in hindsight, everything is easier. But when you're in a situation, it's difficult sometimes to make out whether you're on the right or wrong side. Not to find any excuses here, of course, with the morale thing again. You have always your own personal morale um, of what is right and wrong to do, like kill this person or not kill. Well, you know that not killing this person is probably the right
Yeah.
thing. But just to to remind view of the scientific point of view, maybe, or psychological point of view, that things are not always that easy, right? And there's this processing going on, coping. And here, personally, I think Germany is doing a great job in dealing with the history in the sense of reprocessing it, having there's a word called Mahnmal. So it's like a warning memorial. So there are warning memorials of reminding you of what happened in that place, like the Jewish memorial in Berlin. But it is a warning memorial to remind you of the history with the goal, don't repeat history, you know? And history, unfortunately, seems to show that it does repeat itself
Yeah.
after so and so many years. But this is a goal. Like, let's work for history not repeating itself and educating people, instilling this morale of right and wrong in the sense
May
is
I
helpful.
ask something?
Yeah, sure.
Because
Hello, yes.
because I was late to the meeting. My question could be wrong, and I apologize.
No,
There's no
questions
wrong
are none.
question. Yeah, yeah.
We're colleagues.
To ask how many of us are the legal or medical interpreter?
I
Sorry?
myself, I'm a conference interpreter, but I'm working for a lot of, for big companies um, like car industry and so on. So I'm someone who is asked to interpret, and then I'm more technical. I'm not a medical interpreter, if you mean this, or a court interpreter.
Yeah, same here. I would call myself a conference interpreter, not legal. I do interpret a lot of medical topics, but not like a medical community interpreter, rather conferences and market research interpreting. Yeah. And you, Sadin?
So I'm interpreter for medical and legal context. So you are a conference interpreter, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both have conference but I would say technical interpreter. It's more the
Yeah.
yeah. This is
So
my
in terms of automobile,
automotive, railways. I had just in the beginning of the year till last week, I had 3 times a very large project from the Dutch railways. It was a staff training. Germany developed a high-speed train, and the newest version was bought by the Dutch railway company. And all the staff who worked on it, the mechatronicers, the electricians, and so on, they had to be trained for this new train. And I was interpreting with another colleague for about, the first time was 4 weeks, the other one 2 weeks, again 2 weeks. You are paid less because it's very expensive to have an interpreter for such a long time. But for me, it was very nice because normally I have a suit when I interpret, but then I was a blue collar worker. I had this this working suit with a cap up and all this stuff and special shoes with steel in it. And we were climbing on the tree, under the tree, and I was part of the stuff. I became part of the group, and this was so nice. It's different than working in a booth at a conference where I only can be heard and not be seen. But here I was part of the group, and they accepted me. And because I'm very curious and ask questions, they explained stuff to me, and the explanation were also very useful for the staff members who were trained there, because they didn't dare to ask this question because they thought, oh, maybe it's silly. Because I'm a trained electrician and I asked such a question. Well, but they were very happy with us interpreters. So our profession is very, very broad. And what I miss is the airplane industry, the shipping industry, the rocket industry, and maybe submarines, something like this. So I would go with the submarine too.
Thank you.
to
On that note,
interpret.
actually, guys, if you like, share your LinkedIn contact in the chat, you know, network,
yes.
connect with each other, write your language combination and LinkedIn link in the chat if you like, so that you can connect with each other here. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
sure.
Thanks, Sadin. Yeah, for your question. Yeah, and also, guys, we are like over the top of the hour already, so make use of the last
Uh,
minutes to share your contact details in the chat, and yeah, ask any last questions or comments you like. Saden, you wanted to say, yeah?
Sometimes I understand that our time between Germany and Cambodia are completely different. So if
Yes, that's the problem.
I could hardly even reach to you because the time is different. Sometimes, you know, when we are doing interpretation or before interpretation or after, we need some, you know, support from either you or somebody in the group in terms of vocabulary or expression. So for the technical, like automotive, something like that. So I think, how can I get support from you or somebody in the group, because the time conflict.
Yeah, I know. Well, what I can tell you, there are some very good organizations where you can become member. One is Tech Forward. It's like Tech for, and then normally would say Tech Forward, but it's Tech for and then the word, spoken word, and one sentence. You can find it on the internet. It's a association of interpreters organized by and founded by conference interpreters, with a lot of webinars, very useful technical information about your administrative work, factoring, and so on. A lot of stuff is free. Some webinars you have to pay for, but the price is very affordable. And when you become a member, you become a Tech Forward member insider, and then you have a raft of information, and it's actual. At the moment, a lot of stuff is done about AI, artificial intelligence, but also about glossaries, some programs, how you can make your work easier, and you get in touch with, I think at the moment it's more than 600 interpreters worldwide who are members, but with they have summits too, which can take about 3 days, and then there's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 colleagues. You can get in touch with it. And what's the nice thing is, we mentioned LinkedIn. They have challenges, and the challenge could be, how can you make your LinkedIn profile or your web page in about 10 days? And they give small tasks every second day, and that's how you build, let's say, your LinkedIn profile or website. It's very, very hands-on, and it's absolutely good. But there are others too. So I could
And also,
say,
have you tried to post in the just in freely in the Facebook group if you're looking for connections with a particular language combination? You know, just post in the Facebook group and see who answers, write
yeah.
whom or what language combinations you're looking for to connect, what for, is it practice, is it for your network in case you need something or somebody to recommend. Yeah, so this is really for your space to post freely.
Yeah, sure, I will do.
But there's a lot of stuff. Yet also from the EU, you have a site. It's called ORCIT, 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 and that's a platform. When you open this platform, you see a shelf with books, like in a strip, in a comic strip, and you click on the book, and it's about consecutive interpreting, and you get information and exercises, and it's for free. Everyone can use it. or let's like note taking when you're working in the court and you have to make some notes, the names and so on. It's very, very helpful, and it's something for people to start in our profession, but also for the experience is also nice.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and I also heard the word reconcile again. So let's finish on that note with our topic of the birth of simultaneous interpreting or its professionalization at the Nuremberg Trials with reconciliation, like Michael said, Romeo and Juliet. So the main thing is that one finds a way to make peace with themselves, most of all. And then this leads to peace in the world, because if we have peace internally, there's no need to kill anybody, right? So, I mean, to say it harshly, I mean, so
and think you are not,
reconciliation.
your life is not very long. It's only 70, 80, maybe 100 years.
Yes.
Is it worthwhile to fight? No. It's worthwhile to live and to socialize. Have
Yes,
maybe
and make
good sex,
friends.
sex and good meals
Everything
and
that belongs to
very good
life.
information and conversation and nice birthday parties and so on. And
Yes, and make friends and across borders is also why
absolutely,
our
yeah.
profession is also a peace project, because we're already leaving our own borders and connecting with people from other countries. And if we have friends in other countries, we would not want to make war with that country, right? So this is why those city partnerships are super valuable. Like in Germany, like a city has like a partner city in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
For
May-
example, in other countries. And to foster this, it's super important, those friendships, and this creates peace.
Sarah, may I say a few words before closing?
Yes, please.
I am new to do the interpretation for medical and legal setting, but I was a former school principal, so I involved with so many years of translation and interpretation in education sector. So so I move a little bit from education sector to the health and legal setting. So about a year and until now. So I try to build more network with people like interpreter, practice group, or any group who have a similar experience, so we can share the like terminology, the problem that we face during the interpretation, something like that. Even now, I have a problem with like payment method, because in Cambodia there is no PayPal, because because PayPal is the US bank process, so maybe they don't trust Cambodian government. So I cannot get the payment from the translation company or interpretation company abroad, because they want to pay in PayPal. PayPal is the best in the world. So, but Cambodia have no PayPal. So, what is the alternative for me? And I ask, nobody can help me to.
Do you try a credit card maybe, MasterCard or the other one, MasterCard and Visa or American Express?
Visa or debit card, it doesn't work. Well, we have a Canada bank like ABA, but they make Visa or debit card. But how can the company outside Cambodia transfer just $50, $70? So the service fee is already.
Yeah, that's really a dilemma sometimes. But there are, however, online companies that facilitate receiving credit card payments. So so you need to find a way how you can receive a payment through somebody else's credit card from another country, and there are online platforms for it. Um, So an international bank transfer doesn't work either, yeah? Not a simple bank transfer,
but
although there are fees, of course, but yeah.
transfer fee is very high, so it is important. And
Well, maybe
Yeah,
you can try. We have the International Organization for Conference Interpreter, the AIC, the REEC. This is a worldwide organization. There must be colleagues from Cambodia who have maybe the solution for your problem. So you
yeah,
have
and
to
yeah,
write to the AIC, REEC, Association Internationale des
it's in the
Interprètes de
chat.
Conférence,
I write it in the
and
chat.
you can ask them. You have this problem. Maybe they can help you, because it's quite difficult for us to answer your question, because it's quite specific about
What you can
money
try out
transfer.
is what I use is also Stripe. So Stripe is such an online service that helps you receive
right?
credit card payments. Stripe, it's in the chat also. They also take a fee, however, so it depends, but it's less, I think, than an international bank transfer. So check it out. But yeah, this is really like a dilemma. I've learned about this already, that PayPal is not used everywhere and credit cards difficult. Yeah. But yeah, but also, yeah, like start a chat or conversation about it in the group as well. Maybe we have members that that know more about this than
We
we
have a
here.
member from
We can
Thailand. I
thread.
don't know
Yeah,
if
she will
if
speak
she.
next week actually.
Oh, that's good.
Lily
Come next
Vanicha.
week,
So
maybe.
announcement for our spotlight speaker next week.
Yeah.
Lily Vanicha from
Lily, yes,
Thailand,
that's right.
Bangkok, will be our spotlight speaker next week, and talking about her international or Thai, sorry, association for interpreters and translators that she also founded. So
Good.
yeah, and Saden, maybe she has actually an answer to this because there might be a
No,
similar.
in Thailand, they do have the PayPal.
Okay.
I see,
But
and credit
maybe
cards, I
she
think as well, no, for many tourists. Yeah.
maybe she
Western
can
Union,
ask
but
her.
Western you can send cash through Western Union, but they also
Also,
take
yes.
fee. They all take fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Ask the international translation or interpretation company to transfer through Western Union or like MoneyGram, but they say no. Unfortunately, we don't operate the payment system through this MoneyGram or Western Union. So if I say, oh, if you don't do this, how can I get the money? If you don't have PayPal, I don't give
Yeah.
you the job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's a very interesting topic. Thanks for sharing. Maybe
Absolutely.
please, I invite you write about it in the group and let's start a chat. I think there's even a new function now on Facebook to create a chat, and maybe it kind of facilitates starting a discussion about a topic. I haven't tried it out myself yet, but yeah, let's do it and see how the discussion goes.
If we say thing like, why Cambodia not allowed to have PayPal, and then if any government staff they see my post there, I should be in trouble. So sometimes I face the problem, but I cannot express something like that.
Yeah. Or are there not also like competitors to PayPal now? Isn't there like Revolut? Oh, I think Revolut is also something where you can send money and it's actually connected to a bank account. Revolut, I think it's called.
Okay.
And yeah, and maybe a competitor company to PayPal. Yeah. Research, maybe ask ChatGPT and. So, but yeah,
You
it's a
would
really
have to
good
use
question.
your
Thanks for
brain with
asking. But
ChatGPT.
maybe we can research all a bit and then find the answer, collective brain and so on. But at the moment, I don't have any better answers than what we have already discussed either.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, thanks for opening up, for sharing. Michael, Clovis, any last questions, any last comments before we call it a wrap?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. It was a very interesting topic today. Obviously, it's harder to connect also from my generation, and also having grown up in Austria, it's a little bit harder to connect maybe to all of these topics. But I thought it was interesting also from a point of view of you were talking, for example, Sarah, about not feeling any national pride because of the war. That was very interesting. I have the same experience in Austria, for example. It's more regionalized, like it's same with Bavarians.
Yeah.
Bavarians are proud of being Bavarian,
Yes,
but not the Germans, or not being German. So that was very interesting. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Michael,
again. Maybe we want last a few more words on this, because actually this is the language aspect now. You hear this actually in how people talk. Like, I would never grow up and say we did this, we won the World Cup in football or whatever. But maybe that changed a bit. I will come to this in a bit. But whereas other, like my partner is from England, and it's always like we, or other like friends from France I have, or I don't know in your experience, but it's always we. But we grew up like, because I guess we wanted to, now I say we, I don't know, but the separation from this generation of the war and so on, because that wasn't we, that was them, So, and I think from this is also the separation, and again this whole generation of guilt, but it transforms into like, okay, what can we do now it happened, how can we deal with it now to make the world a better place, to help that it doesn't happen again. So okay, so warning memorials, and also there's a whole generation of what are they called, like witnesses that lived in that era and that tell their stories. They have events where people are invited as speakers to tell their story of their time as a victim in Germany at that time, and so on. So all to process this and to communicate, this is what happened, guys. You need to listen to this because it must not happen again, because silence is the worst thing. It's like, you need
silence is not golden.
yeah, it's a trauma, and you have to process
to
the trauma
talk.
and heal the trauma. It's like with your individual small, like in a small world, your own personal life traumas, you have to heal it. Same with this big, like, generation trauma, you can say, because only this leads to improvement, you can say, and the world a better place, hopefully. Yeah.
I think it's a lot about just really experiencing that history and not only reading it in books, because I think it really has to go through your whole body in order to really absorb the knowledge, to really get what war was about. And like when you're so far apart, as in like time wise, then it's harder to really grasp the scope of it all, and like how life must have really felt like when you just read it from a book. So I think experiences are very good, and also like these Mahnmale, for example, that you were talking about, are very good. There's one in Berlin, for example, that I found out the other day, which is interesting in general, as it also translation related in a way, that they used to burn books of Jewish people, and there's this Mahnmal where they build a chamber underneath a place, I'm not sure how it's called exactly, and it's a library that is completely empty, and just they light it up so you can see it as well. So that's very intense, but
absolutely,
it does the job.
You're confronted with it, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. You miss the books in the shelf, and you think, "Whoa, this could be a very, very important books of art,
absolutely.
of science, and so on."
So that's why museums are really necessary, important, great. Go to museums and experience history, like Michael said. This is really great. Yeah. And maybe a last, also Romeo and Juliet story, a comment of regarding leaving this session with the note of reconciliation and peace. Is so my grandfather was in the war, as I said. My partner is from the UK, and they met. My grandfather is not with us anymore either, but they did meet, and it was also like so crazy. Imagine it's like a British person shaking hands with an old German who, like, because my partner's grandfather fought on the British side, so against Germany, right? But now him and I are together, so peace, love, and all of this. So this is what it should be
they were also
about now.
victims because they had to fight the war, and the people who initiated this war and then he invented the ideology. They were sitting in their office and say, "Okay, 1,000 here, and 50,000 there. Doesn't mind. We win or we lose." So that's always the strange thing. The poor little man. and women, they have to suffer. We don't want to do this in the future.
No. So
And
let's
Miguel arrived
work
quite
on
late.
making
and
this
still,
world a better place.
still
Yes, Miguel.
on
Normally
his
it would
head.
already be over now because normally we stick quite well to the time, but it was so
Yeah.
such a great discussion today and so important, I think, to process this. So yeah, but welcome, Miguel. Yeah, but now we are calling it a wrap.
That's true. I have to go to the
Coming
dentist,
to a
so
conclusion. Yes, that's right.
that's
Oh yeah,
gone.
that's why we wanted to finish on time as well, Michael. You can
Yeah.
also tell me. Okay, all right. So thanks all of you for joining. Thanks, Michael Steinberger, as well for your last question and words. And yeah, I think we can call it a wrap now.
Yes.
Everybody, see you again next Wednesday with
Hopefully.
our spotlight speaker from Thailand. And have
Bye,
a good rest of your
Clovis.
afternoon.
Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Miguel.
Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.